I was shown the hellfire and that the majority of its dwellers are women. Not sure why that's there, but I just thought I would point that out to you. For you ladies, a
priest's daughter. Leviticus chapter 21 verse number 9. Suppose a priest's daughter makes herself unclean by becoming a prostitute. Then she brings shame on her father. She must be burned to death.
For you ladies,
students, that no matter what I or anyone else says about it, we have a 27-book canon, and it's not going to change no matter what. But suppose it were possible to change it. I'll tell you one book that I would probably vote to have excluded is the book of 1 Timothy, which is the book that says that women are to be subject to men. They are not to exercise any authority over a man. If they're going to be saved, it's by bearing children.
I'd vote for that,
so,
too.
You know,
for you ladies.
Now, it turns out that according to the Bible, a man could sell his daughter as a slave. Exodus chapter 21 verse number 7 says, if a man sells his daughter as a female slave, she is not to go free as the male slaves do.
If he's going to be consistent, he just needs to just move on along.
In fact, just for you ladies, I thought this one is repeated a number of times in the Hadith. I was shown the hellfire and that the majority of its dwellers are women. Not sure why that's there, but I just thought I would point that out to you.
Bukhari number 1052, for instance, Muhammad says that most of the inhabitants of hell are women. Most of the inhabitants of hell are women. And you know what else is found in the Hadith? This is in regards to the treatment of women and so forth. The Prophet Muhammad claims to have seen the fiery pits of hell, and he said that the majority of those in hell are women.
Could you explain to us the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that the majority of people in hell will be women? How can that be reconciled with the other teachings of Islam that women are no worse than men? Well, if the Prophet ﷺ said that, you're forgetting the other side of that hadith. And there is another hadith that says, I saw that in Jannah, most of those in Jannah were women. So you're forgetting that one, and you're emphasizing the one of the hellfire. Simply because, they never mentioned that one. You're so correct.
Is, these hadiths that talk about whether or not there's, that there's more women in hellfire than men? Do you know that actually, in the chapter of Sahih Muslim that deals with this issue, the first report in that chapter is an opinion of Abu Huraira. It's not a prophetic hadith, it is an opinion of Abu Huraira. And a group of Muslims in Medina, this is after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, a group of Muslims in Medina are debating whether or not there's more women or men in heaven. And Abu Huraira says, they come to him and they ask him what his opinion is. And he thinks and he says, there's more women in heaven.
Normally wakes people up a little bit toward the end of the presentation. Just a second.
And that I have read Sahih Bukhari, almost finished with Sahih Muslim, the Muwatta of Malik, all the Hadith Qudsi. That's about, at that point, their jaws drop open because most of them have never done anything even close to that. Most of their imams have not done that much reading. And so they're just like, you're kidding me. You're kidding me.
But the excuse, the reason is given is not one that we would find overly compelling, because he was asked, why is that? And the answer had to do with the fact that women could not pray during their periods, and that their testimony is worth only half of that of a man. To which I think most Muslim women thought in their minds, but did not speak with their mouths, yeah, but those are your rules. But that was the answer that was given at that point in time. Why answer that was given at that point in time. Why?
Second part of all these hadiths. No one ever talks about the second parts of the hadiths, right? Where the Prophet says to the women he's talking to, he's trying to give them lessons to help them improve their lives. So he says, you know, تُكْثِرْنَا اللَّعْنَ وَتُكْفِرْنَا الْعَشِيرَ. You're women, you're cursing a lot, and you're being ungrateful to your husbands. And he continues and he says, what is ungrateful? It means your husband is always good to you, but then one day he doesn't do something good for you, and you say to him, I've never seen anything good from you. And this is a very interesting phrase. I think maybe people in the room have heard the phrase before, right? It's possible. It's very good advice the Prophet is giving these women. He's saying, be grateful when you have a good husband. And then in other hadiths, he gives advice to men. And yet we still are obsessed with our own, because of the worldview from which we come, we're obsessed with reading these hadiths through this kind of, what sometimes people call a hermeneutic of suspicion. We look at these hadiths and we're suspicious of them. These are sexist hadiths.
That was the answer that was given at that point in time. Why?
Oh, the Prophet, you know, this is a misogynist hadith. This is a sexist hadith. No, it's not. Because the very people, not only the companions of the Prophet, but generations and generations of Muslim scholars after them, never thought this was saying that actually there are more women in hellfire than men. They never interpreted like that. As I said, most of them actually believe that there are more women in heaven than men.